job.
Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. I thought we would do a watch party, see if we can watch Bitcoin break a very modest 51K. Let me just post this. All right, Bitcoin is now at 50.9. 50.9. So, let's see if we can break it, right? ADA's knocking on the door of $3 again. Let me pull that one up. Let's go look at ADA. That's the wrong one. ADA USD. All right, there's ADA, 299. Bitcoin is trying to break 51K. Let's go look at the daily time frame. 51K is, if we draw our line in the sand, which remember we have to draw a line in the sand. Why don't we switch this over to an hourly time frame and see what is going on here? So line in the sand at 51K or so, right there. And Ethereum, let's go check on Ethereum. So Ethereum is now sitting just shy of $4,000. So we are at that same level that we hit on the weekly. If we were to close Ethereum at these levels, it would be the highest weekly close, in fact. So this might actually be a fairly interesting level to look at 39.19 or so. This was the highest weekly close that we've ever had for Ethereum. But right now, why don't we keep a close eye on Bitcoin? We'll even switch this over to the minute time frame and get very dubious here. So we're looking at the minute time frame for Bitcoin, trying to make it to that 51K mark. Obviously, we got to draw a house. You can't do short-term 1 minute TA without a house. I might need to draw that a little bit further over. There's our garage. And then, you know what, you always have to wonder, right? Like, what do you put in the garage? I still would contend that, we're not driving anything super fancy, at a 51K Bitcoin. So I would still, we had our little bike at 40K. So I don't really know what would come after that. If you guys have any ideas, I'm open to listen. So maybe not like maybe an upgrade from a bike, but I don't know, some rinky-dink car. No, we're not at Lamborghinis at 51K Bitcoin. You can't even buy a Lamborghini for 51K. So how are we going to claim that a 51K Bitcoin is a garage that would have a Lamborghini in it? I don't think so. Sounds like my 10-month-old is upset that we don't. Maybe he's upset about what I said. Yeah, maybe he's upset about me talking about the bike. Yeah, a scooter. Maybe that's what it is. It's like I don't know. It's funny because it's just gonna look the same though. How do you even draw a scooter? I don't know. It'll just look the same. It's our fancy scooter. All right. So Yeah, I mean, guys, this is a pretty important level, right? I mean, 51, 52K, this is a pretty important level. And, I mean, my argument with crypto, again, is that it very likely will keep trending up with time. Like, we're going to have shakeouts and whatnot. And we try to talk about those and prepare for those. But I would still contend that we should be able to trend up with time. Yeah, I think I've been going back and forth with a lot of people on the bullish cases and the bearish cases, and I mean, you can make an argument for both. I mean, maybe it's my own bias, that's. But I would still argue that we should. I mean, I really do think we will be able to see higher prices this cycle. I don't know when they're going to come, if it's going to be next week, next month, next year. But I would argue that it should be able to happen. All right, let's see. So ADA just hit $3. Bitcoin is still sitting just shy of a very modest 51,000. Ether's, Ether has actually been fairly strong here. Okay, so I think it'll be interesting to see what it does going into Q4. Okay, because historically going into Q4 is not the best time for the Ether Bitcoin valuation. But that doesn't mean, a lot of people misunderstand, right? That doesn't mean that Ether USD has to go down. If Ether Bitcoin is bleeding, Ether USD could keep going up. And this is just based on historical data. I mean, last year was a good example. Ether USD was going up, but the valuation of Ether against Bitcoin was bleeding because Bitcoin was just going absolutely crazy. And imagine if Bitcoin were to go absolutely crazy again, then of course, everything else will take a back seat. Yeah, people always ask me, is 20K possible? I mean, like, if you want my honest answer to that, I don't think 10K is possible. Like, that's like the most bearish case that I've seen is 10K from people calling for 10K and going sideways at 10K or something. I don't think that's going to happen. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. I think people would like to think it's going to go back to those levels, maybe if they don't have Bitcoin. But I don't think it'll go back to 10K. Another thing to think about for those that are really continuing to call for, say, like a 10K Bitcoin or something, and the idea that that's possible. Like if you pull up like our regression bands, like 10K would actually be below the regression band. So with that in mind, it's really hard for me to imagine how that it's possible, like how a 10K Bitcoin is possible, because I don't think that I think that would be too much. Like I think the market would come in way before 10K in the event of a dump. So no, I mean, if you're asking me, is 10K possible, I would say no. I would definitively say no on that. I think the last time we were at 10K, I do think this was the last time. I think this is the last time that Bitcoin will ever be at 10K, back in September of 2020. So, I think then you sort of have to come up and say, well, what is theoretically possible to the upside and the downside? Well, remember, the lower regression band is a lot more useful, in my opinion, than the upper regression band. And the upper regression band has actually broken 100K now, right? So I'm not saying that we're about to go to 100K, but what I am saying is that the logarithmic regression band will allow it. It did not allow it over here, right? It would not have allowed it over here because we would have topped out at the top of it at around 85 or 90K. But now the upper part of our logarithmic regression band, which again is only fit to 3 data points, okay? So I think a lot of people, they see these regression lines and they want to take the red one to the bank, right? They want to take the red logarithmic regression line to the bank, cash it in, and say, hey, here's 1 Bitcoin, you give me $105,000. But no, I don't think we can take these things to the bank. It's just a fit to 3 data points. It's meant as a guide. I also would argue that you can't take the green one to the bank, but depending on who the cashier is, I mean, maybe they would cash it in. I don't know. The green line is fit to thousands of data points, right? Thousands of data points. And because of that, right, because it's fit to thousands of data points, the argument is that it's a little bit more trustworthy, right? It's a little bit more trustworthy. And by the way, the lower band is just fit to quote unquote non-bubble data. It's not fit to the peaks. It's not meant to show that. It's just meant to say, hey, if we're ever in the green regression band again and you're not buying Bitcoin and you're waiting for something, then you're probably doing something wrong, because that's like the best time to buy Bitcoin. That's always been the best time to buy Bitcoin. And if you bought it here at, say, 5K and then it dropped to 3K and you're going to say, well, see, you wait. No one cares about these little bunny hills, right? You don't care if it drops 2,000 or 40% in the regression band, even if it goes up to, to 7K and then comes back down to $3,800. No one cares about that, right? This is just accumulation time. You have to assume, you have to give Bitcoin the ability to accumulate within a certain range. You can't just say, oh, can't move for 2 years and then it goes up. No, these are accumulation phases when we're in the green regression band. So the whole point with the red regression band is I didn't even initially include it, but people asked for it, right? People asked for it. So it's just a fit to 3 data points. And right now it says that even though it is a fairly conservative estimate by a lot of standards, it still says that we are very much capable of going above 100K, right? I mean, it shows that 100K is possible, right? It is possible. And it doesn't even break this model, which again, I know a lot of people would like to see break. I don't mind seeing it break either. But 105K, in fact, is where the upper regression band is. In order for us to get back into it, which is where we went several times back over here, we would need to go to $71,126. Okay, so that would be sort of what I would be looking at to the upside. Now we can also look at our corridor here and talk about, well, where does that have things, right? Where does that have things, both to the upside and the downside? And we'll keep talking about the logarithmic regression band as well. So what's interesting is that the top of the logarithmic regression band and our corridor now actually correspond to the same valuation. The corridor says it's 104,453, but it is decreasing. And then again, the upper logarithmic regression band says $105,042. Now what's interesting is I made this corridor back in April to try to get an idea of potential upside and downside limits using a different metric. And it actually came through in the clutch. I mean, I wasn't very optimistic about it, but I mean, look at this, right? I mean, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So far, it is come through in the clutch, right? And that's what we like. I mean, we like it when our indicators come through in the clutch. But so far, so good, right? So far, so good. And if you're curious what the lower bound on that indicator is, it would actually be around 27K at the moment. So it would say that the bounds, the lowest it could go, in the short term would be 27K, and the highest it could go in the short term would be 105 or 106K or 105, 1,043. Okay, so that's where this indicator would say things are bounded. Okay, and the point is to not necessarily say which way is it going to go. It's just crypto is a bunch of if-then statements, right? It's like if it goes up to these levels, then maybe you want to take some profits off the table, and if it goes down to these levels, then maybe it's time to keep DCAing. But to constantly predict every single day on what Bitcoin's going to do is kind of ridiculous. It's kind of ridiculous. So we have our regression bands. We have our corridor. So the upper bound on the regression band again is about 105. It's about 105, 106K. The other regression band, and again, getting back to the 10K predictions, I don't see 10K as being possible. It's already below the logarithmic regression band, and a lot of the people that are calling for 10K Bitcoin are saying that it's going to go there and then spend a couple years at that level. I don't think that makes sense, because I mean, if you just draw this regression line out, like it's going to continue to move up. Like the lower bound is going to keep moving up, and it's already above 10K. Now, clearly, the lower, the 200-week moving average historically is what's used to gauge what is a theoretical bottom, right? The 200-week moving average historically, that's what people use to gauge what is a theoretical bottom. So if we pull that up, you don't really care about what the 200-week moving average is today. You need to worry about what it's going to be if we were to go to those levels. So right now, and remember, the 200-week moving average is so far a monotonically increasing moving average. It's never actually gone down. We've never spent any consequential time below the 200-week moving average. Now, we have gone below it a few times, but we've never gone above it, or we've never gone that far below it, okay? So that's currently sitting at around 15K. All right, that's sitting at around 15K, but it's moving up relatively quickly. For instance, the 200-week moving average back in May was 12K. So in the last, few months, it's already moved up $3,000. So by the end of the year, the 200-week moving average is probably going to be close to 20K, right? It's probably going to be close to 20K. So if you ask me, is 10K possible again? My personal opinion is no. I don't think 10K is possible. If you ask me, is 100K possible at this stage? It is possible. The reason we know it's possible is because the logarithmic regression band says it's possible, and because of some other indicators that say it's possible. I mean, the corridor that we have says it's possible. Plenty of indicators say it's possible. Therefore, yes, 100K is technically allowed by a lot of different indicators. Is 20K allowed? It is, right? 20K is still theoretically in the cards. If you're waiting for 20K to buy Bitcoin, I think that's probably a little bit irresponsible. Even if you end up being right, it's probably a little bit irresponsible to say that it has to go to 20K before it goes to a higher highs. But 20K is still possible. And the only reason we say that is because, the 200 week is at 15K, right? The 200 week is at 15K. But if you're waiting for that, I mean, that honestly, I feel like people waiting for 20K, you're taking on a ton of risk, right? You're taking on a ton of risk. The way I see 20K is, hey guys, the chances that it goes to 20K, probably not that high, right? It's probably not that high. If it goes there, then it's just a huge opportunity, right? I mean, I'm not telling you to bet the family farm, but if there was a time to really go in strong, that would be it. That would be the time, right? It'd be similar to like a March 2020 capitulation, right? 10K, I don't think it's possible. 20K, maybe. 27K on the lower end. Obviously, the upper bounds show that 100K is possible right now, and that ultimately this is going to continue moving out anyways. If we were to continue to say draw this out, somewhat rudimentary, right? Somewhat rudimentary, and just say, all right, it's going to curve something like that, maybe. It's hard to get it exactly on this chart, but you get the idea. By say December, it would stand to reason that 120K is theoretically in the cards according to the upper regression band, right? By March, you could argue that 130K, or April, 130K is possible, and so on and so forth. Okay, so my argument, as always, has not changed, right? I think time is on our side. I don't really know what's going to happen in the short term. And I don't claim to know what's going to happen in the short term. A lot of people say, well, you need to give out short-term price predictions. Any type of short-term price prediction is extremely dubious, and it's most likely not going to happen that way. So that's why we don't do it, right? Who cares, right? We're not looking for, for the street credibility or whatever that comes with being able to predict short-term prices. I'll be honest with you guys. I have absolutely no idea, absolutely no earthly idea what Bitcoin is going to do tomorrow. I have no idea. For all I know, Bitcoin could be at 55K tomorrow, or it could be at 45K tomorrow. I really have no idea. So if you're looking to me to tell you what it's going to do in the short term, you're looking at the wrong person. I have no idea. And I'm fully aware of how ignorant I am when it comes to being able to predict short-term price moves. I can't do it. For those that can do it, I commend them. I would commend them because I'm not someone who can do that. Let's look at some other things. So the bull market support band now is another indicator that we'd like to look at. And it's currently trading, or sorry, the bull market support band right now is between 42 to 43K. By the way, if you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. I will put out a link to the Telegram channel, theoretically speaking. I guess you can't find it in the description below, so I think I lied to you. I'll put the Telegram channel. Why don't you guys check it out? They have a lot of fun in there, but remember, there are some scammers that might pretend to be me and that might message you first. Just know that it is not me, okay? It is not me. I will not message you first. I don't have anything personally against you. It's just that I will not message you first because scammers are the ones that will message you first, okay? So if you get a message from someone pretending to be me, it is not me. If you're speaking to someone on WhatsApp and you think it's me, it is not me. I don't have WhatsApp. So there's probably one person watching right now who's like, oh crap, like he doesn't have WhatsApp, but I'm speaking to some. No, it's not me, right? It's just simply not me. Right now, my speculation, I mean, on Ethereum, right? I've told you guys what I think about Ethereum. I think we are in I mean, I don't know if it's going to break out here or not. I mean, a lot of altcoins have, and if it does, it's going to completely, I mean, it'll, I guess, depending on when it breaks out, will completely affect sort of like, is the Q4 plan going to take place where it bleeds against Bitcoin? Or is it going to go on to something completely new? For the first time in what, like 7 years? It's never done this before. Is this going to be the first time ever that Ethereum gains on Bitcoin in the fourth quarter of the year? Stay tuned. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's never happened before. I mean, there's always a first time for everything. Okay. You know, when I look at Ethereum, right? When I look at Ethereum, what I see, as I've said before, is I don't think 4,400 is the cycle top. I really don't. I think we will make it above $4,400. Let's look at the chart. What do I think? I've told you what I think, right? Until, I mean, I think we're in this stage. I don't know when we're going to break out. I mean, this one, we had to put major move here. We ended up putting in a new all-time high, actually, just a few months later, but we were still range bound for a little bit. So is this the breakout, or do we need a little bit longer to consolidate? You know, what's interesting is we had two of these phases, actually, in the last cycle. Not one, but two. And one of them lasted about the same length that this one has lasted, okay? If we take a measured move from when we got up into this range to when we actually broke out and decisively went to a new level, it was about 190 days. 190 days. Right? If we go back and let's say the first time we broke 1700, which is basically where this range has been, we're looking right now at approximately 164 days. Okay? So far, we've seen this before, right? This is not new. It's not like we've never seen Ethereum make these types of moves before. And what a lot of people are calling for is, you know, potentially these like dead cat bounces. I don't think it's a dead cat bounce, right? I mean, I think that we could spend a while consolidating. I mean, I'm not saying we can't go back down to the $2,000 to $3,000 range, but what I am saying is that the idea that Ethereum is going to go back to $300 or $400 is very unlikely. Like, it's very unlikely. So if you're in a boat where you're thinking that a $300 Ethereum is on its way, I think you're going to be waiting a long time, my friend, and I don't see that happening. I mean, sure, we can have a retracement. I mean, we've been going up for, you know, basically nonstop for many weeks in a row. But the idea of going back to those levels, I don't think so. I don't think so. My guess is that the market cycle bottom for Ethereum next cycle, so whenever the whole cycle kind of calms down and everything, my guess is that, I mean, it will depend on what the cycle peak is. I mean, you know, let's assume that Ethereum makes it to, say, 10K. Right now, it seems like maybe even on the higher end, we've always said 10K plus or minus a few K. You know, if it were to go to I don't know what it's going to go to, but I mean, imagine it went to 10K. Then you could imagine that during a bear market, maybe it goes back down to the $2,000 to $3,000 range. Maybe not even that far off from the current prices are. If it goes to 20K, which I know is a more bullish prediction, then maybe the bottom would be around the current price. Okay. Well, I feel like a lot of people make the mistake every cycle of every step along the way, people will call for the bear market, right? The multi-year bear market. And back in the summer, I said expect a 3 to 6 month bear market, not a multi-year bear market. I said 3 to 6 months, and that's basically what we got, because I clearly defined it for you guys what I meant. And what I said was expect us to be below the 20-week SMA for 3 months, right? 3 to 6 months. To be fair, I said 3 to 6 months, and we got 3 months, right? We got 13 weeks. We got 13 weeks below the 20-week moving average. But that, I think the biggest thing is that a lot of people look at it and say, all right, well, we have to go down. Like, we have to go back down to these crazy prices. I do think there will come a day where we will retrace 80-85%, right? I do think that will happen. But I don't think that's today. Okay, I don't think it's from these levels. I think it'll be after, Bitcoin is over 100K. It'll be after Ethereum's probably over 10K. I think that's when it'll happen. I think it's too early. I think it's too early to say that's going to happen now. Okay. Because if you look at this, this metric actually held up fairly well. Okay. This is the extension of the valuation of Bitcoin from the 20-week moving average, right? And I told you guys back then, expect diminished extension from the 20-week. Right? Expect diminished extension from the 20-week moving average. And what did we get? A double peak there. Okay? The first one came at 42, and then the next one came at around 58. Okay? So did it have its peak at 64? No, it didn't. But it came relatively close, right? It came relatively close. It looked at around closer to around 58K on the trend line, the final touch of the trend line. Now, what's interesting is when looking at this chart, we always like to speculate, right? What's a bit of dubious speculation, right? What's a bit of dubious speculation? And if you look at this trend line and try to understand, well, what is theoretically possible? Like, what would have to happen? Like, what prices of Bitcoin would we have to see to go back to the trend line? Okay? And you might say, well, Ben, why do we have to go back to it? Well, I mean, couldn't we just spend the next 3 years below it? Well, you could be right. I hope you're not right, but you could be right. I would also draw your attention to 2013 when we went to it 2 times, separated by approximately half a year, or more than half a year, around a half a year or so. So if we do a little bit of dubious speculation, and again, this is nothing more than dubious speculation, we take the natural log of X, right? It's just the natural log of the price over the 20-week SMA. And we set it equal to what? 0.71. 0.71. What does that equal? Well, the 20-week is at 42,118. All right, so we're going to go log the price over 42,118, and we're going to set that equal to 0.71. All right, and then we're just going to see what it gives us. All right, let's see. 85K. 85, 86K. Okay, so to answer your question, what would Bitcoin have to do in the short term to go back up to that trend line? We would have to get to 85K. And then you might say, well, what does that mean, right? Well, I mean, what is if it goes to 85K, is that like if it goes to 85K in 3 months, is that the peak? No, not necessarily. Why not? Well, again, because this is a function of the 20-week moving average. And the 20-week moving average, again, is dynamic. Okay, this week it's 42K. Next week, it's actually going to be slightly lower, right? But if Bitcoin trends up for 2 months, the 20-week moving average will go up. Okay, and if the 20-week moving average goes up, let's say the 20-week moving average one day is say 55K, something like that. And then let's take a point off this one, and because the trend line is going to keep going down. And then if we solve for X, what do you get? You get $110,000. Okay, so that's how it works. It tells you what is theoretically possible today. It does not tell you what will be theoretically possible 3 months from now. It just tells you what is theoretically possible today. Nothing more, nothing less. Fairly simple, right? A fairly simple idea. So, what else do we have, right? What else do we have? Well, let's talk about the pi cycle, because a lot of people ask about that. The pi cycle was actually fairly good. I mean, it's done a really good job so far. We also had a pi cycle here in 2013 at an intermediate peak, at a local top, and we've talked about the similarities between 2013 and 2021, and what started in say 2020 to 2021. A lot of similarities there. So my argument stays the same, right? My argument stays the same. I do think that that 64K Bitcoin, as I said back then, I think it's a local top. I don't think it's a market cycle top, but I also don't think the market cycle top is in 2021. So, I mean, I'm sure that makes a lot of people mad, but that's just my thought, right? I could be wrong. I know a lot of people would love it if I am wrong, but I think it's not going to be in 2021. I think it'll extend beyond that. We'll see, right? I mean, we'll see. We either have 3 more months and then it's done, or we're going to keep partying into 2022. We'll see what happens. But I know a lot of people are calling for a peak either this month or December. I really do have a hard time understanding how we're going to do a peak this month. I mean, Bitcoin's not even put in new all-time highs yet. And Bitcoin's trading 20-25% down from the all-time high. So, I guess I struggle to think about how it's a market cycle peak. I mean, if you're talking about maybe like a double top, if we have a double top at 64K, maybe that's what they mean. But I have a hard time understanding a market cycle top in September, when right now Bitcoin's still trading less than 64K. Now, I could be eating my words later in the month if somehow Bitcoin goes to like 100K this month, which again, don't discount anything. But if that happens, then we'll obviously have to reassess the situation. So I do know some people are calling for a market cycle top this month. I don't think so. But I mean, I guess we'll see what happens in September, right? We'll see what happens in September. We'd have a long way to go to get there. I mean, we'd have to see Bitcoin just absolutely explode in price between now and then. But anyways, what are some other things we can look at? Right? What are some other? There's actually an interesting, there's some interesting indicators that I've been looking at and exploring. Here's one. It's called the whole. It's like the whole moving average. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bright. Some people were telling me about this one. Let me make it yellow. This is an interesting one. Okay, this is the one that we're going to want to watch. All right, and I'm going to show you why. All right, it's currently at 51,333. You keep that number in the back of your head. 51,333. The reason people are talking about it, I'm just the messenger, right? Don't hate me for just giving you the message here. The reason people are talking about it is because of this, right? Of that, and that, and that. That's why people are talking about it, okay? So my argument here is, well, I mean, even if we do get rejected, I feel like the 10K, the 10K bears saying it's going to go back to 10K, they're probably gonna claim victory, right? But there's plenty, I mean, there's plenty of reasons why in the short term we could have a temporary drop, right? And that doesn't, even if that happens, it doesn't take away from the fact that Bitcoin should keep trending up with time. But I would imagine that if we get rejected by it in the short term, that a lot of the bears would claim victory. And I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I like it when the price drops. Like, I mean, I do, because it just gives you opportunities. I mean, I see price drops as opportunities. I don't see them as something you have to be overly concerned about, okay? I just see them as opportunities. So look, if we drop, if we get rejected, I think it's an opportunity, okay? But the reason why they're talking about it is because following this peak over here, we dropped back down, we came back up, we got rejected by this moving average. We came back up here, we came back up, we more or less got rejected by the moving average here. We came up, we came back down, we got rejected by that moving average, came up here, we came back down, we got rejected. I don't know. My guess is that no matter what happens, even if we do get rejected in the short term, it's still unclear, right? It's still going to be somewhat unclear, because you could look at it and say, well, I mean, September's not historically a great month. We're coming off of a crazy rally over the last couple of months or so. So it stands to reason that we could have a pullback at least to the bull market support band. That'll be the real test, I think, whenever we test that, because if we hold this as support, then I think it takes the more bearish case away. I mean, I would say there's definitely a chance we don't hold it as support, and we need maybe another 3 months of playing in the sandbox. But if it does hold as support, then I think it'll take a large part of the bearish case away and probably turn a lot of bears into bulls. But I think it'll be an interesting indicator to watch, okay? Because right now we are coming up right to it, and remember, it is at 51,333. The other one, and the reason why in the short term people are talking about 51, 52K is because of the relative strength index, right? So, this is something that we followed before. Okay, let me show you what I mean. So earlier this cycle, we were talking about this, right? And we were saying, all right, guys, when we break through this, right, when we break through it, right, we get a point for the bulls. We even made a video, go back and watch it a few weeks ago. When we broke through, we said, all right, guys, the bulls haven't gotten any points in a while, right? I mean, not since like April have the Bitcoin bulls gotten a point on their side. And then we broke this, point for the bulls, right? A point for the bulls. We broke it. And ever since then, we've been on a fairly impressive rally. Now, if we go over, we can draw a fairly similar trend here, right? I mean, it's obviously a lot, it's a lot closer together, but we can draw a fairly similar trend. And so this is something to keep an eye on here. And this is why I'm saying, like, even if we get rejected in the short term from 51 or 52K, I don't really personally see it as a problem, right? I don't really see it as a problem. I think that if we went to 51, 52K, we'd be back on this trend line here. And maybe we go down, but at the same time, if we just break it, that also would be an interesting play. I don't trade these things, by the way. I don't trade these these things on these lower time frames. I just stick to the risk metric. Again, that's part of the premium list into thecryptoverse.com. This is just for your entertainment, right? This is just for your entertainment only, because you guys are always telling me about this stuff. So yeah, we're seeing the daily RSI drop right now. If you zoom out though and you look at, say, longer time frames, right? I mean, it tells a different story. It tells a completely different story, because on the weekly time frame, we're actually only at around 61 or so. So on the weekly, we're looking. I mean, and you could even maybe look at these bottoms and say, all right, well, we came down to a bottom on the weekly RSI back in December of 2018. We came down to it again in March of 2020, and then we just came back down to it again in June and July of 2021. And so on the weekly time frame, things still look relatively healthy. I mean, it's not like, we're nowhere near these levels that we were at before. So on the weekly things, on the weekly RSI, things still look relatively great. It's just on the daily that there's that temporary downtrend there. On the 2 week, if we look at say like the 2 week RSI, it looks fairly similar to the 1 week for Bitcoin, right? I mean, it's, so we had a bottom here again in December 2018, another bottom here in March of 2020. We're back down on the trend line July of 2021. This could be, again, this could be a long cycle, right? I mean, I know some people think it's just going to end sooner rather than later, and you could be right. You could be right. I'm just dubiously speculating over here. Don't mind me. But what if it's just a long cycle, right? What if we come back up and they come back down and they come back? I mean, I don't know. Like, just consider that, right? Consider this as a possibility, right? Do not be deterministic about anything. But if anything, you should be deterministic about, it would be that Bitcoin should trend up with time, right? That's what I would say. Don't be deterministic about anything. But if you're going to be deterministic about anything, it should be that Bitcoin will trend up with time. That's sort of what I operate on. Because if you don't believe that, then you know, it's like, what are you doing, right? What are we doing here? If you don't believe Bitcoin's going to trend up with time, and you're speculating on it, and you're speculating on altcoins, then I don't know. All right, let's go look at Ethereum again, because I want to show you guys again something. Let's do the, by the way, guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Give the video a thumbs up. We have 4,500 people watching and 1,000 likes. That's a pretty bad range there, or a pretty bad ratio, I should say. So I think it'll be it could be a 3-peak cycle. We had 1 peak in the summer of 2021. Yeah, I mean, like, imagine we get a second peak, I don't know, 6 months from now? What if we get a third peak 6 months after that? I don't know. I don't know. It's possible. All right, people always ask me, do I think Ethereum will flip Bitcoin, right? I've always said the same thing. Like, I think it's possible, right? I think it's possible. Do I think it will sustainably flip it this cycle? Probably not, but it could temporarily flip it, right? It could temporarily flip it. I'll put it this way. This is not gonna make me a popular person by any stretch of the imagination. But I don't really care. I'm not here to be popular. If I wanted to be popular, I would make every video an emergency and tell you Bitcoin's going to go to $500,000 by the end of the year, right? That's how I'd be popular. And then when it turns out I'm wrong, I just say the market manipulated it, and then you guys forgive me. So if I wanted to be popular, I'm certainly doing it the wrong way. This is not a popular theory. I think it's more likely that Ethereum flips Bitcoin than an altcoin flips Ethereum. Okay, I'll say that again. I think it's more likely that Ethereum flips Bitcoin than Bitcoin flips, or sorry, than an altcoin flips Ethereum. That's not going to make me a popular person, right? That's not going to make me a popular person. Why is it not going to make me a popular person? Well, Cardano, right? I really like Cardano, and I mean, you guys know I talk about Cardano all the time. People accuse me of being just a Cardano shill. My only regrets with Cardano is probably just not shilling it more when it was trading at 5 cents, okay? That's probably my only regret with Cardano. But if we pull up, say, CoinMarketCap here, my contention is this. I think it's more likely that Ethereum flips Bitcoin than Cardano flips Ethereum, or Binance Coin flips Ethereum, or XRP flips Ethereum, or Solana flips Ethereum, or Dogecoin, or Polkadot, or whatever. I think it's more likely that Ethereum flips Bitcoin than an altcoin flips ETH this cycle, okay? And I say that as owning a sizable bag of Cardano, right? A sizable bag of Cardano, okay? And by the way, I've always told you guys, you know, my Ethereum position is larger than my Cardano position, and it is, but I'll tell you this, Cardano's giving it a run for its money, right? Because, I mean, you know, ADA's gone up a lot more than ETH, and I don't rebalance my portfolio every day. So ADA is giving it a run for its money, and I don't feel bad about it, right? I mean, I'm fine with it. You know, I mean, I said before the cycle even really got kicked off 2 years ago, I said that ADA is my primary hedge against Ethereum, right? It's my primary hedge against Ethereum. I don't think it's going to flip it this cycle. If it does, great, right? I mean, like I'll wipe away, as I've said before, I'll wipe away the tears of being wrong with all the money I'll have made on Cardano. So I don't mind if it flips it. I just think it's more likely that Ethereum flips Bitcoin than ADA flips ETH. That's my only point. Okay. So again, I mean, my ADA portfolio has actually the percentage of ADA in my portfolio is now giving ETH the run for its money because, again, as I said, Cardano has just outperformed Ethereum, and that's what you would expect. I mean, this is what I want. I mean, if it doesn't outperform it, then why the hell do you hold it, right? Because if you're holding these coins down here and they're not outperforming the blue chips that have lower intrinsic risk, then why the hell do you hold them? Because you're just taking on more risk. If you're taking on more risk, you should get a higher reward. If you're taking on more risk and you're getting a lower reward, then you're doing something wrong, my friend. So you're doing something wrong if you're buying lower market cap coins and they're ultimately giving you a lower return, because then you're just taking on more risk for nothing, right? I mean, you could just put your money into Bitcoin or Ethereum and you would have made more money. So the whole idea is that the lower market cap coins would hopefully outperform the higher market cap coins. But the reason you don't just go all in on the lower market cap coins is because you want to protect your downside, right? There's something called risk, right? I know some of you are guys just like, what is this guy smoking? Talking about risk all the time. Again, it helps you manage your risk by weighting them in a way that it protects your downside risk in the event that Bitcoin drops. If Bitcoin continues to go up, then the path of least resistance is for the lower market cap coins that are worth their salt to continue moving up. Okay, that's my speculation. Okay, I have Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Cardano. I don't think we need to be, cult-like and say it's either ETH or ADA. No. Why can't I have both? Like, I have both. I like having both. One's, they're just hedges, Those are my thoughts. All right, those are my thoughts on Bitcoin, ETH, and ADA. By the way, I was telling you guys about ADA. At 2 cents. At 2 cents. Now it's trading at $3. And people say that I'm just an ADA Well, I mean, it's up 150x or something. What do you want me to do? Am I just supposed to pretend like it's not going up and never talk about it? No, I mean, I think, last cycle, a lot of people called Ethereum a scam, and no one remembers that now, right? I mean, who was here last cycle? Who was here in 2015 and 2016? Tons of people called ETH a scam back then. Everyone called it a scam. Now everyone just accepts it as like the backbone of crypto, right? Like that's where all the utility comes from. Same thing, right? I told you this cycle, so many people, they say Cardano is a scam. They say, oh, it doesn't have smart contracts. Right? That's a really bad way of thinking. Like, can you never invest in a startup before? Imagine investing in a company, and someone comes to you and says, hey, we want to start this company, and we need to do some fundraising, okay? And you give them your money and they say, all right, well, you're going to get X amount of shares. And then the next week you say, well, let's say it's a shoe company. Let's just give an example. A shoe company, you invest in a shoe company. They're going to come out with the best shoes in the world. And then you wait a week and you're like, where are my shoes? Like, damn it, I want my shoes. No, they're still developing them, right? They still have to build stuff out. So an investor in a startup does not demand to see the utility of that startup right when they make the investment. As I told you guys when ADA was at 2 cents, you're not buying what it was back then, you're buying what it will be. So the idea of just telling me that Cardano doesn't have smart contracts and whatever, it's just noise to me. I mean, thank you. You're pointing out an obvious fact that everyone knows. The brilliance you display from telling us that Cardano doesn't have smart contracts is completely negligible because it's everyone knows it. And again, people are not buying Cardano today because it has smart contracts. They're buying it because it will have smart contracts. Okay. By the way, for the Cardano haters, I will tell you again that I've explored the validator programs that they have for almost every single major network. Okay, I've looked at Cardano, I've looked at Polkadot, Solana, I've looked at Matic. Let's just go down the list here. Looked at Cardano, I mean, Binance Coin is extremely centralized, so good luck there. Looked at Solana, looked at Polkadot, go down the list, right? Matic, go down the list. Avalanche isn't bad. It's probably the second after Cardano in terms of actually having a useful validator setup, like validator with delegators, okay? Cardano's is the best, by far. It's so easy, it's so seamless. It's by far the best as compared to the others at this stage. Now, I hope the other projects get their acts together and actually put together something that's not a pile of garbage, but as it stands today, a lot of the validator programs are piles of garbage, right? They're extremely centralized. They, decentralized in name only, right? They say they're decentralized, but in reality, they only have like 100 validators, or they don't even allow people to become validators. They have some caps on the number of delegators they can have, or it just costs $5,000 or something to just run a validator per month, right? Per month. So if you ask me what is the best validator, which network has the best setup, it's Cardano, right? It's Cardano, right? It's what it is. I don't make it up. That's what it is, okay? And if you're gonna tell me that I'm just shilling it because I have a stake pool in it, it's not true. I was talking about it at 2 cents well before I even knew I was gonna start a stake pool. In fact, I didn't even launch a stake pool when it first launched because I didn't want to launch one. I only launched one later on, like 6 months after they started. So I would say Cardano's is the best that I have found. After that, Avalanche. Why is this important, right? Why is the whole validator stuff important? Well, I'll tell you one reason why. It gives that project intrinsic marketing, right? Think about all the influencers that have their own stake pools, and then they're incentivized to grow the stake pool, right? They want to grow their own stake pool. Why? Because it benefits them. So you have your own intrinsic marketing by having a validator program that's not a pile of garbage. So just something to consider. Just one more reason why I do think Cardano is a good project. Is it as good of a buy at $3 as it was at 3 cents? No, it's not, right? I mean, it's not at nearly as a good buy at $3 as it was at 3 cents. Like, it's not. That doesn't mean it can't go to $10. It doesn't mean it can't go to $12, $14. It doesn't mean it can't make it there. I think it will, but it doesn't mean. Does it mean that it's as the risk is lower than it was when it was at 3 cents? No, because if you bought it at 10 cents or something, you were not buying what it was back then. You were buying what it was going to become. Right? There's a big difference. So remember, if someone tells you that whatever project you own is not worth anything because it doesn't have something that's in their roadmap or something, you say, well, thank you, Captain Obvious. I'm not buying it because it has it today. I'm buying it because they're going to have it. And if I wait until after they have it, then maybe I'm going to have to pay a higher premium to get it. Therefore, I would rather invest in it today rather than wait until that time comes. Thank you for listening to my little soapbox there on Cardano. I see all the comments and whatnot about it. And, I think it's here to stay. I don't think it's going anywhere. The network effect is growing. There's going to be retracements. Even in a bull market, we can see 60% drops. That's par for the course. We already saw a 60% drop once, right? This was a 60% drop here. Sorry, let me, price range. So we've already seen a 60% drop. Could we see more? Of course we could see more. If we got a 60% drop from this price, it would take us back to a $1.25. If it goes to, let's say it goes to, I don't know, $4.50, and then we get a 60% pullback, where would that take us? $1.77. It's going to happen, right? We're going to have 60% pullbacks. Like, just get over it, right? It's just going to happen. You can't expect something to go up 100x, 1,000x without having 60% pullbacks occasionally. That's just the way the market works. Early investors are going to want to offload their bags to the new investors. And the new investors are going to basically say, well, you know, I recognize that I'm getting in late, but I still think it has potential upside. The early investors might say, well, I'd like to take some profits in case it doesn't have more upside. It's the only difference. At some point, the price will be too much for the market to bear, and then we'll probably go down 85%, okay? I don't think that time has come yet, but I do think that time will come. I'm hoping ADA can at least make it to $10 by that time, but we'll see, right? We got a long way to go. I mean, right now we're trading at around $3, $4, $5. We still have a ways to go. So buckle up, right? Buckle up. Should be a long ride. By the way, we do have we have been launching some NFTs. We actually try to do useful, like, you know, art that's actually looks good. I want to show you guys this stuff because we actually put a lot of work into this. nft.intothecryptoverse.com. This is the first one. It was just given out to premium members. What's a few NFTs among friends? I thought it was cool. If you scan this code here, it just takes you to this page. We have a few other ones as well. Infected, Discovery, and Lunatic. These actually are sold out within a really short period of time. This one's on auction. This one's on auction right now. I think this auction actually ends in a little bit. But guys, check it out if you're interested in that. I think the NFT space is interesting. By the way, with the NFT space, I would argue that the digital art movement is only the beginning, right? It's only the beginning. I would say that as the market continues to expand, it will encompass a lot more than just digital art. Okay, so I do think that artists have really seized the moment, and I would just say that it's only gonna grow. The applications of the NFT space are only gonna grow, right? They're only gonna grow from here. Now, of course, they're gonna have boom and bust cycles, but it doesn't change the fact that they should grow. They should still grow with time. Yeah, I know. Ethereum, it looks like it looks like it's really close to 4K here. So, actually, I gotta go soon. Actually, oh crap. Yeah, hey guys, I gotta go. Unfortunately, I have to get going. I have an appointment in a little bit. So, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe. We do have the premium list if you want to know how I'm navigating the markets and whatnot into thecryptoverse.com. I'll put it in the comments. You can find it in the description. We also, I'll post our Telegram chat room if you guys want to join it. You can also follow me on Twitter if you want to see my more immature side. You can follow me on Twitter if you want to see me rant and argue with people and all that stuff. So check it out. But yeah, I got to get going. Unfortunately, we'll see if Bitcoin can break 51K, if Ethereum can break $4,000. If we have pullbacks, then so what, right? So what? All right, thank you guys for tuning in. Subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, click the bell icon to turn on notifications. You guys know the drill. See you next time. Bye.